But if you could tell us a little bit about this myth and like why does everyone think this? Why does everyone think that they have to do it all alone?
I have a lot of ideas about this, and it is definitely something that I still struggle with, honestly. Even though it's like a process, right? Like you realize it and you keep addressing it. And one thing is that, as an artist, as a creative entrepreneur, you think you should be able to do it all yourself. And I think people really fall into this trap, especially when they're starting out. You can feel a real sense of scarcity, like you're trying something new, you're going into sort of unknown territory. Maybe there's not a lot of cash flow, and you just think like, I can't pay someone else to help me. I just have to do it myself. And so it's this like really contractive like state, which feels very real. And, when things don't work out, then we turn that and say, well, it's because the work wasn't good enough, or there's something wrong with me. Like I just didn't get it. And so I'd love to hear what you think about that.
Yeah, definitely. I get in, I'm a solopreneur. I don't have, besides an accountant that I send my taxes to once a year, I don't have anyone working underneath me. And for me, it's like, well, I have to keep costs down. It's the scarcity mindset. And it does kind of put you in this catch 22 where I know for a lot of artists, and I'm working with an artist right now. I just picked up another client who's saying, well, I can't, I need an assistant so I can sell more work, so the assistant can ship it and send it out. But also because I'm not selling more work, I can't afford the assistant, right? And there's all different ways that you can get around this. Maybe that person works in a co-op. I'm like, maybe you can just rent someone else's assistant or pay them a couple of bucks, for 2 hours a week just to help you out and get started. There's all ways that you can just start accepting help and asking for help. In really, really small ways. I think another thing that people do is they take on far too much, and they're also unrealistic with how much they can actually do. So for instance, for me, like I've definitely heard from clients, well, starting on Monday, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to get assistant. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that, blah, blah, blah. Or, another common one since January is coming up is I'm going to get on a diet. I'm going to work out 5 days a week. I'm going to rip out, carbs and sugar and all this other stuff. And it's just, our brains think that we're a lot more capable, and they don't take into account of the actual real world stressors that come into play. So I think it's really common for people to take on too much, and then as a result, burn out.
Mm-hmm, for sure. And I think that can really lead to people actually just quitting before they even really get started, just out of the gate. And one thing that I think that I've discovered about working with people is that, like, when you first start, you don't even really know what's possible. Like, you really don't even know what you don't know, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so working with people who are specialists in different areas of business is actually a huge shortcut, because then you don't have to actually figure it out yourself through trial and error, which, if you think about it, just can take so much time. Like, this whole idea that you can do it yourself is like a reaction. But once you start to pick it apart, you realize, like, that doesn't really make any sense, And another, I think, really interesting thing that I've learned this year as I've started working with more and more consultants on different little aspects of my business is that instead of learning that new app, to make reels, like, you are actually developing more like leadership qualities where you are like sort of holding the vision and then delegating and getting organized for that. So you are actually applying your energy in a way that is much more like leadership based.
I always think of Marie Kondo of like, picking up that, does this give me joy? Does writing your own social media copy give you joy? Probably not. Like a lot of people are like, oh, I hate going on there. Well, then, get organized and maybe, get somebody that can help you. A lot of people complain that, oh, I can't afford that. There's definitely people in the Philippines that you can honestly pay $8 an hour to do this.
Sure.
And that's a good, fair wage for them. So it's a win-win situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so, getting a VA or like having someone do like a part of your social media for you, maybe do the writing, or even having someone who you can turn to who will, I don't know, adjust your photos and then upload them to your website. Just kind of taking that off your plate. These are small things that really don't cost that much, honestly. You can get someone to do it for a few hours a week, and all of a sudden, you're a little bit more of your time and energy is freed up to do the thing that's really important. And that's one thing that I really think about is like, what is absolutely essential for me to do? What is the thing that only I can do? And if you're an artist, a lot of that is making art.
Yeah, I was just thinking that as you were saying, it's like, okay, what are the most important things? Making art, creating art, thinking about it, going and getting inspired, however that works for you, and then also
Mhm.
networking. There's really something to be said about the art industry,
Totally.
and shaking hands and kissing babies. Your assistant can't go and network for you, so
Mhm.
making time to going to those galleries, making an impression, building relationships. That's something that you as an artist can only do. But you did mention briefly for an assistant, maybe taking photos or categorizing your inventory.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's actually an easy one to pass off. You just kind of set up a system and then you can, they know what to do. And then you don't even really have to think about it that much. They just kind of take this chunk, you know, and it's actually, yeah, it's really not that prohibitive to get someone to do that a few hours a week for you.
Yeah,
It's happening.
it doesn't take that much time. And then I
Mhm.
know there's a lot of programs out there. One that I use and work with is Art Cloud. And I can
Mhm.
definitely put a promo link down below if you're interested for 40% off. There's Artist Archive. There's a bunch of them out there and they're really affordable. But for artists who have been doing art for 30 years, they have 30 years worth of drawings and paintings, and especially if they have multiple galleries, they're not sure where they are. Getting organized, I think, can really free up some of that energy.
Absolutely. Yeah, the last thing you want to be doing is like hunting around, in like years worth of stuff trying to find what you need to to move forward, And the other thing about sort of like really prioritizing that getting help and getting organized is, like kind of what we're talking about. Like then you create opportunities for more income, then people can actually find your work and they can actually buy it, and so it kind of like really makes that something that has to happen, and sometimes those things get deprioritized when you're the one making the work and doing everything. And so
Absolutely. So to answer the question, can you do it all by yourself? Can you?
I don't think so, no. I mean, you might, yeah, no. I just don't think that there's enough energy for it, like, I just don't know that your chances of success are as good if you don't sort of, like, utilize other people's expertise, if nothing else. An hour-long consultation on how to use social media. I've done that, have someone look at your website, tell you what's working, what's not working. Like, those things for an hour or two can be huge. They can have huge value and like really impact how everything is kind of working. So something to consider.
Absolutely. A couple other ideas, there's especially in Los Angeles and the bigger, most major cities, they have colleges with art programs. They have internships, especially if you're an artist who's been doing it for a while. Maybe you can contact the college and say, hey, I'm looking for an assistant or to set up some kind of internship. You
Hmm.
have knowledge that these interns and these people, these recent college graduates could really help with. So you are actually providing a service by letting them understand and learn what it really takes to be a full-time artist. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Hmm.
So yeah, to wrap up that myth number one, I'm going to do it all alone. I don't think that's a strategy for success. And the sooner you can kind of get over that hurdle, and maybe you're not ready to hire anyone, and that's okay. But just start talking to other artists and seeing what their system is, what they do, to kind of find a system that works for you for organization.